Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Cloud Games. My name is Richie and this is CloudQuest, a cloud gaming show where we take a deep dive into one particular topic. Or that's usually what we do. This week we're doing like a mini Sound to Stadia podcast because there's a couple of bits of Stadia news that we wanted to touch on and CloudQuest seemed to be the best place to do it. Joining me as always this week is none other than Mr. Chris.
Sounds of Stadia, my favourite podcasts.
I said Mr. Chris, not Mr. Chase.
Never sang on this show
Shout
before.
out Chase.
Shout out Chase, the gaming advocate, of course. Creator of that amazing jingle you just heard my rendition of there. Sounds of Stadia is back temporarily.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of news to cover.
Yeah, but before we get into it, what were you about to say?
I was going to say we are the longest running Stadia podcast in the world and no one will ever beat us. Ha 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 ha.
Despite this not being a Stadia podcast.
But we still have that accolade,
that
that
is
title.
True. We have that title.
And no one's ever going to beat it because Stadia's going to die next month. So
unless Google brings Stadia back,
they won't.
We win. We won the...
That's our smallest victory we could claim from covering it for 3 years.
Yeah. Before we get into it, make sure you, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great shows go live, such as Talk the PS, where we take a breakdown of all the PlayStation news happening in the clouds every single Tuesday on podcast services on YouTube. Also on podcast services on YouTube, we have XPass, where we break down all the green side of gaming and talk to you about whatever Microsoft are doing in the cloud gaming podcast. Well, I just butchered that. I just completely butchered it.
You're hungover still.
I am. It's getting late on a Sunday. This is the third show of recording in a row, basically no breaks. Our first looks and live streams. And yeah, you can become a member for as little as 99p, which gives you early access to this very show. So Chris, now I just completely destroyed my own intro, which I've been doing for almost 100 weeks at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We have Stadia news.
We do. Lots like varying Stadia news as well. It's interesting.
Yeah. So
where do you start?
I think we'll start. Well, I think we'll start. There's been a couple of tech YouTube channels that managed to get their hands on a Stadia dev node.
Well, Richie, funny you should mention that. I have right here. No, I don't actually.
That would be great if you had one.
But it would have been great if we could get our hands on a Stadia dev node. But we didn't. However, yeah, lots of people did. And you've watched them, right? The breakdowns?
I have. It was quite interesting to see like the teardowns of what the tech is. Various levels of saltiness about the situation, to be perfectly honest.
From your side or from the content creators who were doing it?
Some of the content creators. There's some of the content creators are just like how we were kind of advocates for cloud gaming. I think those sometimes you're going to get people hardcore into PC gaming. They sometimes lose perspective. Like, yes, Stadia had more latency than local console gaming. Mm-hmm. But in real world, it's actually barely noticeable when you're playing, and it also didn't cost anything, where top-end gaming PC can set you back over $1,000 for a graphics card alone.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was Linus Tech Tips did one of them.
Yeah.
And who was the other major one who put it out? Was it
the other one I saw was Gamers Nexus.
Gamers Nexus, yeah. And it did make me chuckle. So for those who don't know, the gaming dev nodes that essentially went out. So even though we know Google Stadia was in the cloud predominantly, all the instances of games ran in the cloud, there were times when people would need to do work essentially offline. Just like I'm sure for Google Docs and Google Sheets and everything, there's versions of that actually there is versions that do run offline. They update when you reconnect to the internet. But in terms of obviously game development, there would probably be instances when you didn't have connectivity and you needed to do some editing or tweaking or a different instance of the game you didn't want to be uploaded to the master server. So out of nowhere, all of a sudden, I think in Linus Tech Tips, he goes into saying that their friend over at one of these developers teams sent them their node. And you saw throughout the video, they kind of blared out barcodes, serial codes of any sort.
One thing that he said, Linus especially said they couldn't do is they couldn't plug it in, because as soon as they plugged that in, the server would ping, the net dev node would ping Google that this one of these things is going live, because this is designed to connect to Stadia. Mm-hmm. and then suddenly this dev node that is not meant to be where is somewhere where it's not meant to be is going live. And Linus also mentioned that these dev nodes, not everyone could get them. You had to justify to Google why you needed one and didn't just go through the cloud. So I imagine you're looking at your bigger developers, probably your Bethesdas, your
early adopters.
Your early adopters, your Bethesdas, your Ubisoft, where small indie guys are probably not going to get their hands on them.
Yeah, and he did make a joke of it in the video, saying that they will have signed NDAs to say you can't show this off. Like, nobody really knew these dev nodes existed until this week.
I think everyone...
I presumed everything was in the cloud until I saw these videos.
Yeah, I think there was assumption there might be something exists, but no one knew what the hardware was going to be. Mm-hmm. And what we have to remember as well about these dev nodes is this isn't like a workstation hardware. This is trying to emulate, one of these is trying to emulate like one instance of Stadia. Yeah. Which was quite interesting to see, like the breakdown.
It is, yeah. So the breakdown of it, I guess, was it's essentially the shell. It looks like a PC tower. It's just a PC tower. It's a Lenovo workstation. Yeah. Like literally in the video, he pops the Stadia logo off the front like seamlessly. Just looks at it and it falls off, just to show how like. Obviously, it's got Stadia aesthetics to it, but it's by no means designed for like public consumption or visibility. Yeah. It was purely a box that's sent out. And let's face it, the PS5 and Xbox dev kits, they just look quite garish as well. Like they're just fatter versions of the kind of refined customer-facing version that just has, like Richie said, all the components to run an instance of a PS5, a Series X, or in this case, Stadia. I know you got some criticism, I think, in the videos of like how maybe underpowered they were, but at the same time, I just looked at it and thought, well, yeah, they're not trying to match the PS5 and stuff. I mean, if anything, they're trying to match the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One. But the main part of the computing wasn't done on that core end. No.
I think they were good enough for what they're meant to be. And this is like kind of... I think the dev kit that Linus... Like this was... I can't remember if it was Linus or Gamers Nexus. They looked at the date of it and it predated the launch of Stadia. Yeah. So, and apparently when they talk to their contacts, like they expect that the actual hardware in the Stadia server blades was actually more powerful than these development nodes.
Yeah. Well, they said that their contact did say that they had instances of games running at 1080p seamlessly, and they said it was so good in the cloud, like you wouldn't even be able to tell. And then that's when I think they go on to say that the 4K nodes and servers and stuff will exist out there. But obviously some of them might come out in the future. One of the things that did make me chuckle about it all is that he was quite secretive, as I said, about blaring out barcodes and stuff. Yeah. One thing that did ping in my mind when he was talking about it, he said, they did the part about the NDAs and he handed over the dodgy parcel of money and wearing a mask and everything like that. He makes like a bit of a joke about it. He did say they develop games exclusively for Stadia before handing the node over and no longer needing it, which makes me think that shrinks the pool down to who this could be to a very small amount of people who made nodes. And I'm thinking about it, so I'm like, is it Splash Damage? Is it Tequila Works with Guilt? Because there's not that many games that were exclusive to Stadia. And I'm like, I'm sure you could do some deduction Sherlock Holmes work there and actually figure out who... I think we try and stay away
from that a bit, because like this is a developer who's like done something he shouldn't have done by handing this out.
Illegal.
It straight up breaks an NDA, and it's, as a consumer, it's quite interesting to see the teardown. And I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
Not at all. But it is an interesting thing. They reached a point where they were like, we can just sell this to Linus or whoever. They probably
didn't even sell it. They probably just, here you go. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know if you're going to break
it's a Stadia exclusive developer. I think it's probably a smaller developer, and there's a good chance they're just fans of the channel.
Possibly. But, I mean, it is an interesting peek behind the curtain, but I am very curious that, like, hopefully in all of the continued fallout from Stadia when it closes in January going forward, like, we just start to see more. And I think now it's no longer going to be a thing outside of white labeling. Like, who knows what more we learn about. I'm sure all the staff who left have probably been NDA'd as well. I know when we spoke to Grace on this show, the previous community manager, she was very reluctant to share stuff, and we didn't want to pry into that because, again, it's business and jobs and such. You need to.
And she was good enough to come on the show. We don't want to. Like, we weren't bringing her on the show
never
to get
our
a
intention.
scoop. So
yeah, which is why with these. But it's interesting to think, like, when they blurred out the barcodes, I was kind of thinking to myself, surely Google have like some kind of Google Lens algorithm that can reverse the blur effect using AI and figure out exactly what it says in that image. But that's just me going down the rabbit hole of like cheeky, naughty. But me also likey, so keep bringing them.
But yeah,
any big major takes for you from it?
Not really. Like you mentioned, like things like the GPU maybe a bit underpowered to what you would expect. But there again, I think I was watching this from the view of I'm very well aware that I'm watching like a tech channel that I used to like handling the biggest and brightest, like the 4080, 4090 sort of graphics cards. This is the sort of hardware they're used to being around. And I also have that experience of Stadia where I know what the end game performance is like. And as I've always said, for me, it was always slightly better than PlayStation 4 Pro, but doesn't come close to PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So it's I'm not surprised by any of it, really.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of caught me out was when... I've only watched the Linus video, so I'll keep referring to that one. But when he mentioned on about uploading the game instance to the cloud, and he made a point of showing like an Xbox Series X uploading or downloading a file and showing that for an 82 gig file, it might take like several hours. And then in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, these offline dev nodes, I guess, serve a purpose, but for the most part, every developer, like the Bungie, they actively came out and said, like, everything we run on Destiny 2 is done in the cloud. So when he was saying about uploading an instance, I was thinking that probably very rarely happened, though, but he kind of honed in on it as, like, a negative reason that these nodes weren't really that good fit for purpose. And it was like, well, actually, that's not how the games are getting made en masse anyway. It's probably just very niche scenarios.
The games are not made on the node; they'll be transferred to the node for like playtesting or something. But it's like, I always thought like, you basically could develop on the cloud, then you could update your instance and But I really don't know. It'd be interesting, like, but like the things like Bungie have basically kind of sung the praises. I mean, they developed on Stadia even after like they started developing Stadia when they like had to work from home because of COVID. And then they just kept doing it because they found it the more convenient route. That's like we theorized that Bungie might bring that idea to like PlayStation, like, and we could use like white label like Stadia to kind of
the dream,
like improve our
sort out
our workflow. To be honest, even if it is just a workflow improvement and not a like this is an improvement to cloud get to like PS Plus, but yeah, it's
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's it in summary. Again, watching these tech videos, like you said, they're predominantly tech channels, and it was interesting to think because we've been quite detached from Stadia since the announcement of the closure. We've not really played it. We did like the birthday stream, but even then, I think on the birthday stream, even we noticed there wasn't that many people, and even across social media, you can tell it's winding down. I think everyone's accepted it
when
now.
You're told, it's one of them things. It's when you're told there was an end to something, like people who were holding out hope still, like ourselves. It's just like, well, why am I?
What's the point?
It's why we talked privately about like how do we end like Sounds of Stadia, and eventually we just kind of went, we got to like we were having this conversation around about 158, and at 160 went, this is it.
Yeah, there's no news coming. There's nothing.
There's no
news
nothing
like worthy. Absolutely, we ended it on our own terms, as we said, and it was interesting though to go back and actually see like major channels with millions of followers cover something we've passionately covered for 3 years, and still hear them like get little things wrong, still like little bits of news or coverage. And the thing that made me chuckle in the Linus video was at the end when he says, "Now Stadia is no longer a thing from January. It would be really interesting if they reached out and partnered with like mobile providers to maybe offer the games as a white label service." And I'm watching the video on my phone going, "They've done that already twice. Control, Batman Arkham Knight." I was like, that is a tried and tested white labeling thing they did well before this announcement. And he pitches it at the end as though it's like some grand idea for Stadia Tech, and I'm like, Linus.
It's a good idea for Stadia Tech.
It's
I'm 100% on board. Like they should partner for PlayStation. They
should. But again, it just kind of reminded me about the last Disney, 3 years of us fighting for the truth in like performance and games and what's really happening. And again, we've had our ears so close to the ground, but chuckles.
We could point the finger at like the Linus and other and like journalists and stuff, but in the end of the day, it's Google. It was Google's product, and they didn't get the message out properly.
Absolutely.
But they could have done more.
Tell you one thing they are seemingly doing right though, Richie.
What? The refunds.
Yeah. You got yours?
Yeah. I've got every single penny I was expecting to get. Good. What about yourself?
I believe I've been refunded in my entirety for both software and hardware now. I had one little instance where my Founders Edition, I think I must have bought it on a card that had expired or a credit card had cancelled. But I got an email like within a day that said pick a different payment method, took me straight to my Google account. I picked my current card, and then within another 24 hours, it was refunded to said card. So that was like the most seamless obstacle that in my mind, I'd feared was going to be the most complicated thing to resolve. And it was, seamless. Just worked.
I had the exact same situation, which the thing I found interesting is it was the card, that card I'd used expired like in October. So before I got my first refund, all my Stadia store like stuff was fine. It's just anything I bought off the Google store to that on that card. That's the only thing. So I wonder if there was just like a slightly different back end or something. But even that was pretty seamless, and it was dead easy to get the refund. So that's nice.
I think that goes the same globally. As far as I'm aware, like our friends in the US got theirs earlier. I think Canada's now sorted. A lot of Europe, I've seen those European guys tweeting out about it. The only kind of little bugbear I've still found within it all was the Play and Watch Chromecast edition. So in their initial blog post, they said we'll refund the controllers, the Founders Editions, any hardware, Stadia hardware specifically you'd bought. And it said the Play and Watch packages. And I thought at the time, great, because I recently ordered my black controller with a Chromecast with Google TV as like a bundle, and in the refund amount I only got $29.50 out of the $59.99 I'd spent. So they've deemed within that bundle the Stadia controller to be worth $29.50, even though independently they would have cost different amounts. And I'm not fussed. I'm not here to like go, oh, that's ridiculous. Like I've got hundreds and hundreds of pounds back that I never expected. So I don't really care. I'm no love is lost to me. But I think it's the only thing I've seen them maybe go back on the wording a little bit on what they said.
You can make an argument that they haven't went back on the word, because the difference between the Play and Watch bundle and the Premier Edition is the Premier Edition was a single blocked-in box. Mm-hmm. The Play and Watch bundle was, we're just bundling a few of our store items together. Yeah. So I think from their point of view that the Chromecast they sold you with that is not Stadia hardware.
True, but then as a
I disagree.
Advocate, I could also say that I bought that Chromecast to play Stadia on as a pack.
This is why I disagree with them.
And now it's redundant, and I might have zero interest in using that Google Chromecast for watching TV. Obviously, that's a lie. I use it all the time. It's terrific. I love having the controller, and it's very snappy. And but that aside, again, I'm not bothered, but I'm sure there is someone out there who bought that bundle specifically for Stadia. Probably only 5 or 6 people, albeit. But that is one of the only few things they've gone back on in their description. And again, I know it can go either way, but aside from that, I guess everyone let us know in the comments below. Are you fully refunded? Is there anything you're still waiting on? Yeah, are you bothered about chasing it up? Because I made my list when a fest was announced, and then I binned it. I got rid of the piece of paper I jotted everything down on. And then I've got so much back in one bulk go. If something was missing, I don't think I'd know or care now. It's like I just went through like the store, I just dumped it in a spreadsheet, went equals sum of, and just added it on. And that's the ballpark figure. And as long as I'm getting close to that, I'm content. I'm not quibbling. I think we've had so many discounts and freebies, and that was the only thing that did make me like go, damn it, was when I got the email that would say, here's your refund, but then it said like discount $59.99. Yeah. It's like, damn it, that was my free Resident Evil one. Damn it, that was my free Cyberpunk one. I was like, that could have been 120 quid. One of the
things that showed me actually is how expensive gaming as a hobby can be. The number I got for Stadia was just shy of 1,000 over 3 years. And I don't think I bought much over the last 18 months.
No, same.
So probably about 2/3, 3/4 of that money was probably from the first 2 years.
Yeah. And that's just down to the nature of the game releases they got. Like, we spent the last year, all of 2021, saying, where are the games? There was nothing, I think, for us, bar 1 or 2 titles that we really wanted to play. Yeah. And that just goes back to the
Pro, but it came to Pro.
And that was the whole point of the collapse, I think, realistically. Again, we could do a whole 160 episodes about that, but they're already on demand for you to go back and watch.
Yeah, but talking about the collapse, Destiny 2 will cut off Stadia players a week before Google does.
I can't say I'm surprised, but it's a bit of a shame they don't see it out. But I guess, if you're a big Destiny player, and I know there's loads of people out there who've... Stadia and Destiny is just the match made in heaven for Stadia players. For Destiny players. You could just jump in, chip away, do a raid whilst on your lunch break or something without having to drag your console around or be at home. Especially with cross-save and stuff already being set up. And I think it's nice to see that Bungie just acknowledged as part of their weekly update that, January 11th... it's going to go a week early, but I guess that just means us, Richie, when we do our Stadia goodbye stream in January,
we won't be
playing Destiny.
Yeah.
No, that's gone. But I don't even know how many people realistically are playing right now. I'm gonna boot up Stadia now. See how many of my friends list do you think are playing right now? Sunday afternoon, 7 o'clock.
And you've got the Sounds of Stadia account, so you've got a pretty sizable friends list. I'm guessing sub 10, to be honest. And with Destiny 2 as well, it's Stadia isn't going. If you're using Stadia to play Destiny, you'll be looking at moving platform already.
Alternatives, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how many?
7? 0.
There is nobody on my Stadia friends list playing right now. Don't you log in just to make it one person?
I'm not logging in to make it one person. I just want to check my own. But if yours is 0, mine's 2.
There he is, Richie C89. 2.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Someone's playing FIFA 22.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy.
Yeah, all those names we've had great times with. All those founders symbols as well.
If Abangs 55 is listening, shout out to you.
Shout out to you, Abang 55. Yeah, all these names. I must have close to 100 people on here. I'm scrolling. I'm not even in the JK section yet. Either way, Destiny's off. And I guess there is one saving grace that came out of the news this week in regards to Stadia, and that was Ubisoft. Always were from the start to the end, Stadia's biggest partner, and Ubisoft Plus and Connect and everything will live on in the cloud via Amazon Luna as it stands. And we got some surprisingly positive news this week off the back of it all.
A few weeks ago, was it a few weeks ago or was it last week? It was a couple of weeks ago. We kind of we're talking about. It seemed like Amazon Luna hit a very rocky moment, but now it seems like they're changing up how their business model operates, starting with Ubisoft games. And that is, if you've purchased Ubisoft games on PC, you'll be able to use Amazon Luna to play them on the go, no extra charge.
Stadia games as well.
Is it Stadia games as well?
That's the biggest thing, yeah. So not part of Stadia, Ubisoft Plus, but if you purchased a Ubisoft game on Google Stadia, so say you bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey for 12 quid when it was on sale, which I think I did actually. If it was if you've logged in and it's connected to your Ubisoft Plus account, you will be able to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey on Amazon Luna by proxy of your Ubisoft Plus account, even though you might have had a refund for that purchase on Stadia.
Yes, you have to convert your Stadia purchases to PC games to do this, which is probably why I was surprised I forgot about the Stadia component of it. But yeah, so if you convert, you can basically... The way I see this is actually two discrete stories, really. Is you can use Luna to play Ubisoft PC games, and you can convert your Stadia Ubisoft games to PC games.
Yeah. Which is... it's a nice move. Didn't need to do it.
Yeah, well,
I guess Ubisoft just see this as a positive reinforcement of, hey, you love your Ubisoft games over here. We're still all in on Ubisoft Plus, which I don't think they are anymore. This could be a CloudQuest unto itself, but I think with Stadia shutting down, Amazon Luna seemingly still not breaking outside of that United States bubble, how relevant is Ubisoft Plus? Because they've started to siphon their games out a la carte to PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. And I feel like they get enough money probably from Microsoft and Sony now. I just feel like they're similar to Stadia. I feel like the time is on the clock maybe for Ubisoft Plus because they've not had the investment or the uptake I feel like they maybe expected.
I think the problem is they put put the eggs in like the cloud gaming basket. It's like a Stadia and Luna take off. We've got Ubisoft Plus there. That people are just going to buy Ubisoft, get Ubisoft Plus, and then we'll just make tons of money that way. And I think they've had to cave maybe a bit in negotiations with Sony and Microsoft. So now like Ubisoft Plus is like getting added into their other things, so they'll probably make less money. I don't think it's going away by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, because it is that kind of thing. Like, why would you sign up for Ubisoft Plus when they're giving away like Valhalla for PlayStation Plus? Like, if you've got PlayStation Plus, you've got no real reason. I think Far Cry or something is due to come to Game Pass, and it's obviously for a limited time. But realistically, how long are you going to spend with them? And yeah, I think Stadia going and Luna doing what it is. I think we've theorized before. Ubisoft Plus could essentially be its own thing, and it could be white labeled via Amazon 100%. Cloud or Google Cloud. But whatever that future looks like, we also need to remember Ubisoft haven't really released any games, like notable games this year at all. Like, we played Extraction in January, and since then I can't think of anything I've given two shits about. So, and I'm a huge Ubisoft fan, so maybe Skull and Bones will set the world alight next year.
Realistically, the only things exciting coming from Ubisoft is Assassin's Creed. Yeah. Division Heartlands is changing up the Division formula a bit, so that's more of a question mark over that. Skull and Bones just feels like it's going to eventually be put out to die.
It is. It was set out to die years ago.
Yeah, I just don't.
But it's an interest. Obviously, they need a bigger year, and we can talk about that forever. But it's nice to see your games live on. Yeah. I don't really know how many games I purchased. I also don't know how we convert them to PC via Ubisoft Connect. I'm sure there's an article out there from 9 to 5 Google or Android Police. But our problem is, Richie, we don't have Luna still over here, so we can't actually test out if our games work or boot up via the cloud. So fingers crossed for the new year. I don't think
there's any Ubisoft game. I mean, I suppose Valhalla could
Siege?
be nice to have.
You bought Siege, right?
I bought Siege, but I also have access to that through other platforms now.
Yeah, that's true. It was a PlayStation Plus game for this month, right?
Yeah, I actually need to download them. Oh no, I did it through my phone. I did it through my phone.
Yeah, it's part of Premium anyway. But yeah, all in all, lots of stuff.
Indeed.
Stadia's got, at the time of recording, 5 weeks left. 18th. Not long to go. They went at the Game Awards. What the hell was that about? No Stadia logo to be seen.
Logo gate.
3.5 hour show. Not one Stadia logo. No Luna at all, actually. We should point that out as well. Like, I know we don't really cover Luna because it's not available in the UK still, but another year has passed and they weren't there in any way. Neither were Microsoft, though, to be fair. So it's kind of it's kind of like oranges to apples comparison. But
I feel like Microsoft can like weather the storm a bit better than Amazon.
100%. But yeah, crazy, Richie. Dev kits, purchasable games, shut down early, refunds all got. You know what? Shout out for the quality of the way they've handled the refunds. Like, we didn't have to get anything. I know we praised them on the last episode, and I'm happy. You've gone and bought a guitar. Yep. I've paid for holidays and other things. And it's like, it'd be nice to finally close the book.
I know I've lost access to this game library and stuff, but this is money that I'd already spent. Realistically, I'd never expect to see it again, and so and that's why
we've reinvested in our hobbies, haven't we? And we've said, if you're out there and you've got a few £100 back, it's like, it's just before Christmas. Like, treat yourself, treat the kids. Like, you earned it for committing to a Google product from the beginning, essentially. But yeah, it'll be interesting to, I think, finally have that closure in January where like we just round out like every coverage. And you know what? We might do like a funny anniversary look back in a decade's time. We're like, remember that? Like, have you got any plans for your Stadia kit? Like, I got my, we were sent some gear from the Stadia team a few years ago. Yeah. Like, we've got our little pin badges and we got our water bottles and stuff. And I'm thinking, like, how am I just going to put it all in my Stadia backpack, put the controllers in there, put the cables, put the pin badges, and just put it all in the loft and forget about it. And in like 30 years' time with my kids, I'll just get them out and be like, what's this, Dad? I'll be like, well, sit down and let me show you 160 episodes of a show that your dad did back in the day.
I think my Founders controller is going to be like a set piece item because I've got a unit to go in that corner there. I think I might have the Founders just have it on displays, like, because it's part of the legacy of Helix Cloud Games. So
it is. It absolutely is, and it always will be.
The other ones will just get chucked in the drawer. Sorry, Wasabi.
So,
As much as sexy as you are, the founders has a bit more meaning.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it's we'll see. Will it live on? I guess that was going back to the Linus Tech Tips. It was nice to see him still rounding out by beating the drum of like give the Bluetooth support to the controllers, like do a firmware update.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've got 5 weeks, Google, to get your shit together for one last time, one last hurrah, and go out on a high and say all those hundreds of thousands of Stadia controllers in the wild and those still left in an inevitable warehouse somewhere. Don't just make them become e-waste. Like,
it can't be that
let them
hard
live on.
to do.
It can't.
With the amount of developers at Google, someone could be able to do this. Like,
I mean, surely it's baked in. Like, let's face it, they
the
didn't
hardware,
launch
the hardware's there, so they just need. It's just like probably a firmware update and putting whatever drivers they need out there for Windows.
Yeah, they just will need to do it before Stadia closes down, because you get your update by syncing with Stadia, and then it says update on the controller required. Unless they do like a manual.
They could do it via
thing.
Windows.
Yeah,
you could like have the drivers go for Windows, and then the next time you have to attach the controller by a wire, and then it updates the firmware. But I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm not a developer.
But this has been the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 161.
No, it hasn't. This has been CloudQuest 97.
67? What?
Yes.
We've lost 30 episodes.
Let us know in the comments what CloudQuest 67 is, because that's all we've had time for you this week. If you liked the video, hit that like button and consider becoming a member. For as little as 99p, you'll get early access to this show. If you've got an idea that you want us to discuss, let us know in the comments of this video or on our Discord server. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Quest completed.
Sounds of Stadia, my favorite podcast.